Welcome. I'm Tracy Smith, and this is Here Comes the Sun, a closer look at some of the people, places, and things we bring you every weekend on Sunday morning. Actress Juliette Lewis grew up in Hollywood, joining her father on sets with stars like Clint Eastwood as a child. But as Luke Burbank explains, she's charted a course all her own.
She's played characters who are menaced.
I need you to follow me here.
You know me pretty well, don't you, darling?
Yeah.
You're gonna get to know me a lot better, too.
Characters who are doing the menacing.
Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch a redneck by its toe.
And just about everyone in between.
It's really interesting that to this day, the handful of movies I did when I first started still resonate and are still being seen by new generations.
Later in the show, Juliette Lewis on the pressures of making a hit movie.
Have you given up trying to anticipate if something that you do is going to become a quote-unquote hit or not?
I try to do that. I try for my mental health. Well, here's why. The whole lesson of not thinking of the outcome or the expectation, but just fully leaning into a good experience.
Then Conor Knighton introduces us to a man who's committed his life to protecting owls and getting others to give a hoot, too.
There are two important days in your life, the day you're born and the day you find out why. I'm here to help owls and conservation of the planet and the people that I care about.
Unlike most owl species, which nest in trees, burrowing owls live underground, often in holes left behind by other creatures like badgers or prairie dogs, or humans. To restore this land's dwindling owl population, Johnson has been creating and installing artificial burrows here since 2008.
That's all coming up right here on Here Comes the Sun. Juliette Lewis has made a name for herself playing daring women in extreme situations. But it's her role in a family comedy she holds most dear, as she told our Luke Burbank.
So you're at this phase of your career, like you're still finding out things and interested in these characters?
Look, as a leaf falls. What was that?
The only predictable thing about interviewing Juliette Lewis
This is a Dodge Challenger. Man, I wish I could spout out all the facts about it.
is that there's no predicting where things might go.
What is the story on this car?
It comes from the midlife thing of enjoying the fruits of their labor.
This is your midlife crisis car?
Don't call it a crisis. So I'm not going to dump all my issues like driving through the rain, coming from the mountains, and in between projects. No. I'm actually honored that you're picking me to do a profile on. That's cool.
Cool and unpredictable. Two words that could accurately describe both Lewis and her Hollywood career over the years, where she's played characters who are menaced.
I need you to follow me here.
You know me pretty well, don't you, darling?
Yeah.
You're gonna get to know me a lot better, too.
Characters who are doing the menacing.
Eeny, meeny, miny, moe, catch a redneck by its toe.
And just about everyone in between.
It's really interesting that to this day, the handful of movies I did when I first started still resonate and are still being seen by new generations.
Lewis grew up in L.A. watching her father, Jeffrey Lewis, act in countless movies and TV shows.
So I went into my meditation routine,
Often opposite Clint Eastwood.
I've been thinking about this a lot recently because I'm in a cowboyish movie, for lack of a better word. It's a weird Western, but I feel like my dad because I'm like in the gear and the boots and I gotta ride horses, and my first sets are those kinds of sets. That was my first time on this playground.
But Lewis says the acting bug didn't actually bite her until her teenage years, when, with no formal training, she started going out on auditions.
I did sitcoms, which they like everything straight and really high energy, where I almost got fired from a sitcom early on.
For what?
I think for behaving naturally.
You're basically being too good at acting, essentially?
I mean, Marty said so later, but they did not like my style.
Marty is, of course, Martin Scorsese, who cast a teenage Juliette Lewis in the movie Cape Fear and changed the trajectory of her life.
You're not the drama teacher, are you?
Maybe I'm the big bad wolf.
The performance earned an 18-year-old Lewis an Oscar nomination and launched a run of memorable 90s films.
Oh, look, it's a praying mantis. You know how they mate?
Including What's Eating Gilbert Grape, opposite Johnny Depp.
And then when they're done, she'll eat them.
Strange Days, and Oliver Stone's hyper-violent satire, Natural Born Killers, with Woody Harrelson.
I think I scared a lot of people who make business decisions.
He can't keep making ways from you.
People didn't walk around thinking Woody was crazy, but they did of me. Isn't that funny?
The tabloids branded Lewis a wild child and breathlessly covered her high-profile relationships.
Yeah, I'm wondering what it's been like for you to live like such a public life. I mean, to be a celebrity, to have people kind of know who you are. Like, did you know what you were signing up for with that?
No, I'm laughing because what if I just started weeping and fell apart?
That would make this a really good special.
At 22, Lewis got sober. She says through the Church of Scientology, and then started pursuing a quieter life off screen.
I made a decision early on to reclaim my existence on my own terms. I've taken time off from movie making. I started my band when I was 30.
Her punk band, Juliette and the Licks, toured extensively, giving her a chance to live out a different childhood fantasy.
I had always wanted to be a singer when I was a kid. Like, the things that inspired me were Rocky Horror Picture Show, Fame, Flashdance, the musical Hair. These were everything to me. They had all the things, drama, you'd weep, the music, dance.
5 years ago, the band announced they were recording new music together once again. But any future projects with the band will have to split time with Lewis's busy acting schedule.
I mean, at least undo one. I am starving.
Including starring as Natalie in the hit Yellowjackets.
Natalie, time for group.
Airing on Showtime, which is part of our parent company, Paramount Global. The show is about a high school soccer team from New Jersey that gets stranded in the wilderness.
After they rescued us, I lost my purpose.
I love the idea of when you think someone's one thing and they're another. What you reveal and what you conceal, and that dance is what's interesting to play.
And as we neared the end of the interview...
Okay, now I start crying.
Something else I wouldn't have predicted.
No. I'm not trying to have tears this interview.
The one moment Juliette Lewis grew visibly emotional in a conversation spanning life, love, family, addiction, and acting. It was the mention of one of her very first movie roles in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Isn't it a beaut, Audrey?
She'll see it later, honey. Her eyes are frozen.
I'm curious if you had a sense what a cultural touchstone this would be. I mean, it's obviously required viewing around Christmas.
It is so moving to me that to do something that when I was 15, no, I had no idea, that every year families talk to me, people who have lost their parents who tell me this is a tradition, that my little 15-year-old sarcastic self is in their lives every year. That's really remarkable and a blessing and just getting lucky.
If luck is the residue of design, then Juliette Lewis's career appears to be the result of taking chances, staying true to yourself, and never, ever being predictable.
Yeah, it's weird. Middle age is weird because what sustains you in your 20s is not necessarily what sustains you in midlife. However, I don't ever want to lose a certain kind of fire, seizing the day, all that good stuff. But no, I'm not a maniac. Meaning if we weren't doing this, I would just be at home. I would just look at the mountains and listen to the birds and throw a ball with my dogs, stuff like that.
Up next, an exclusive excerpt from our chat with Juliette Lewis. You can only see right here on CBS News Streaming. Stay with us.
More than movies. I love movies.
As promised, here's more from Luke Burbank and Juliette Lewis.
Did it feel like you were sort of destined for this, for being an actor, because of how you were raised and you're in LA? And I mean, did this seem sort of like it was inevitable?
A career in the arts was inevitable, but as a kid, I didn't know the compartmentalization of career, like movies and TV and music is this and dance is this, because I came from little musical workshops. I think that's what informs how I work, because I'm very physical. And anyway, I took singing and dance and acting and loved people watching. I was always curious about, especially people like in class who weren't getting enough attention and stuff like this. Maybe I was one of those people who I would just befriend this sort of underdog thing. I don't know why that is. But to answer your question, yeah, field in the arts was for me.
Did you go to regular school as a kid?
Went to public school, private school, boarding school, but mainly public school.
So you weren't one of those actor kids who was just getting tutored on set and not going to a traditional, middle school or high school?
I did that for a time. Later, I got my GED. I didn't start acting until teenage years, and it gave me this outlet to focus, like, all my curiosity about identities. I was like a punk rock, I was a B-girl, like I literally would switch.
Like B-girl, like B-boys?
Yeah, no, I had acrylics. You'd be surprised. I had golds. It was 1987, 86. But then I was new wave. That's when you defined who you were, but literally by your music and then who you hung out with. But prior to that, I was an equestrian horseback rider when I was preteen. And then puberty hit, and that was quite scary. So my point is, acting was good because it gave me a sense of discipline, focus, integrity. I could focus my energies. I would have liked to have picked up an instrument and been songwriting. I think that's very therapeutic for people like myself, too.
What did you think when you got the script for Yellowjackets?
Yeah, I thought it was so incredible and suspenseful and different, and I was excited about it. I was terrified of serialized storytelling because I like things you do and then you're done and you take a breather. They're longer commitments. So there's challenging things about it, but I know right now it's a renaissance of writing and storytelling more than movies. But I love movies.
Why do you think this show has resonated with people so much? I mean, it's a huge hit.
I know, I'm the worst person. I never know. I never know why things, and I have a whole career that's defined by this one hit, this one didn't.
Have you given up trying to anticipate if something that you do is going to become a quote-unquote hit or not?
I try to do that. I try for my mental health. Well, here's why. The whole lesson of not thinking of the outcome or the expectation, but just fully leaning into a good experience.
What keeps you doing as many projects as you do?
I don't know. I think that it's this little dreamer mind. It's sort of like a gift and a curse of imagination. I don't know. I like it. It gives me things to mull over. I love scene work. Like the stuff I'm doing now, I have to play a person who has a throat injury because she got cut So and the writing was so good. I just love the alchemy, the writing, the other actors, the director. But the writing's so good, it described her voice, and I immediately got an idea. But it all could be done horribly, and that's always the catch. That's the pressure.
If you really commit to a choice for the character and it doesn't work,
yeah,
you're really exposed.
Yes, you can be embarrassing, and that's the line of work I chose. My odds, they hopefully, I mean, it's panned out sometimes, but I'm not always the best judge. Some things I thought weren't great. Other people told me what they thought, and I was like, oh, all right, I guess you guys know. You're the deciders.
Up next, digging in to conservation. Welcome back. Humans have been fascinated by owls for centuries, seeing them as everything from bad omens to signifying wisdom. For one conservationist and lifelong owl enthusiast, a chance encounter was simply love at first flight. Here's Conor Knighton.
This sprawling site near Hermiston, Oregon, was once an active Army depot. Built in 1941, it eventually became known as the Umatilla Chemical Depot. Deadly agents like sarin gas were housed in rows of concrete bunkers you can still see from the air. But you have to be at ground level to notice all of the burrows. This land is home to around 50 pairs of burrowing owls.
They have to have burrows for protection, for nesting. I mean, their life revolves around burrows.
David H. Johnson's life revolves around owls. He claims he didn't have much say in the matter.
I didn't pick owls, they picked me.
When Johnson was just 11 years old, an eastern screech owl landed on the edge of his tent, and he was captivated.
We're going to set 2 traps out here.
Today, he's the director of the Global Owl Project.
There are 2 important days in your life, the day you're born and the day you find out why. I'm here to help owls and conservation of the planet and the people that I care about.
Unlike most owl species, which nest in trees, burrowing owls live underground, often in holes left behind by other creatures like badgers or prairie dogs, or humans. To restore this land's dwindling owl population, Johnson has been creating and installing artificial burrows here since 2008.
You can tell it's a male because a female will have this really huge brood patch.
It's given him an opportunity to study the owls, banding them, recording their vocalizations, tracking migrations with small locator devices.
The science of owls is just vast and fascinating. We've been studying these birds for a very long time, but it's really only recently that we've had the kind of advances in technology, the breakthroughs that have allowed us to solve some of the mysteries that have been around for centuries.
Author Jennifer Ackerman included Johnson's research in her new book, What an Owl Knows.
Wood ducks are falling in over here. They just splashed down.
I met up with Ackerman at an owl prowl in Indiana, where owl enthusiasts spend an evening wandering around in the darkness, looking and listening for the elusive creatures.
Did y'all hear the barred owl?
It's this combination of the strange and the familiar that I think makes people just obsess about owls. And we have been obsessing as a species about owls for tens of thousands of years.
More than 30,000 years ago, this owl portrait was scratched into the wall of France's Chauvet-Pont d'Arc cave. More recently, owls have popped up in everything from Tootsie Pop commercials.
How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? Let's find out.
To Harry Potter.
Hedwig. Right, smart bird you got there, Mr. Potter.
Humans have a great imagination, and we project it on owls in all kinds of different ways. You know, someone's going to get sick or die, or they have wisdom. You know, they're just owls, and they're doing what they do best.
For the past decade, Johnson has been studying how cultures all across the world view owls. Are they wise spirits, or are they eerie messengers of death? Through the Global Owl Project, his team has conducted around 6,000 interviews in 28 countries, talking to residents about their beliefs and documenting examples of owl imagery.
Owls are mysterious. When you see an owl, you realize the owl's been watching you for quite a while already.
Sure.
And it kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies because, like, you know, I'm just seeing this now and it's been watching me the whole time. So that scares some people. We're going to put this on.
For Andrew Wildbill, wildlife manager with the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, the burrowing owl holds a special significance.
These burrowing owls are highly important to our tribal culture, and we recognize them as being a very important animal in this ecosystem.
The Army recently transferred thousands of acres of the former depot back to the tribes. The owls are thriving once again on this site, and Johnson is handing off his research project to the tribes as well. He's fighting stage 4 colon cancer and needs to focus on his treatment.
All right.
Around the leg.
Yep.
Close to the chest.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Hey, buddy.
But he's going to keep fighting for owls. There are more than 260 species found all across the globe.
I wish I could do as much as I could for everything on Earth. Yeah, I can't. What I can do is I can help owls. I'm going to work with owls until my last breath.
I'm Tracy Smith. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you here next time on Here Comes the Sun.